Hey everybody, Simon here from Astroworkz. Well, I'm back from the USA and the amazing trip to NEAF. What a fabulous time I had. I can't say thank you enough to the Rockland Astronomical Society team for their hospitality, the ZWO team for inviting me out and making me feel like one of the team, and also to the continual stream of people who came by the ZWO stand to say hello. And a huge call out to all those people I met. There are so many, I'd miss someone if I tried to name everybody. So thank you everybody, all of you. I do hope we can do a repeat next year. And I do hope you've been and had a look at our NEAF report live from the show floor, which was so much fun to record. My throat was raw for about 4 days after talking. And also do have a look into the many interviews we gave to all those content creators at the show. Those comments and feedback from you at NEAF have been humbling. I'm so glad that you enjoy our Astroworkz video as much as we do making them, and they are hard work to produce, I can tell you. So thanks to all the amazing feedback, we're honoured by it, and it will sure drive us to make more of these, knowing you enjoy them so much. If you create YouTube content, then hats off to you. I know how much effort goes into writing and preparing them, and I feel your every joy and pain from writing content, creating and editing your work, and then that roller coaster of emotions that publishing and reading comments can leave you with. So, well done to all of you creators. It was amazing to meet you and support you too. You know who you are. So now we're back in the land of normality, and we've got a few new videos coming over the next weeks or so, but in today's video I thought we'd do a quick deep dive into the little ZWO SeeStar that got announced at the show. It's an amazing little box, so let's take a longer look and see if I can answer some of the questions popping up on social media. Now, I'll publish this video, and then a week or so, TJ and I will do a live Q&A so everybody can see if they have any more questions. TJ and I are testing new releases almost daily, so there's a lot happening behind the scenes too. So, as always, let's dig into the details. Hey everybody, my name's Simon and welcome to Astroworkz, your friendly guide to the world of astronomy, full of hints and tips on how to get the best out of this amazing hobby. So, one of the new things I got to present at the show was the little SeeStar S50. This is an amazing little box of fun that combines a telescope, a mount and a camera into one tiny lightweight package that's fun and easy to use, and a great tool for newcomers and more advanced imagers alike. So let's take a look at what the SeeStar is, as well as what it isn't. The unit I have here is one of the test versions we had on display at the show, and it's a fully working pre-production unit. So sorry to disappoint those on some of the forums who thought this was just some empty plastic demo case at NEAF. It really was a full-blown working telescope. Now, a word of caution, the unit you see here is a pre-production unit and doesn't represent the final finished product. And the software is an internal beta test version, and again, will be more polished when we finally release it. So, what you see here may look a little different from the final production releases, but with that out of the way, let's dig into the details on the little SeeStar. So what is SeeStar? Well, the SeeStar S50 is a combination of hardware that would make up a normal astro imaging rig and a small mobile app to create a small, lightweight telescope with a built-in camera for observing the skies. SeeStar contains the telescope optics, a high-quality camera, an alt-azimuth mount, batteries, and uses the phone app as the control panel to drive it. It's highly automated, requiring little to set up or configure, and in fact you can simply open out the small tripod that it comes with, press the on switch, let SeeStars boot, put it on a table, connect to it using your mobile device, and be ready to image in just a few minutes. It's that simple. SeeStar uses your phone's GPS signal to tell it where it's located on the Earth's surface. It has built-in sensors to tell you where it's pointing and if the tripod is level. And it contains similar technology as the ASI Air Mini Astro computers. So you can use the Sky Atlas in the app to choose a target to view, then send SeeStars to it. It'll then take you there, checking through its camera where you're pointing. You can autofocus along the way to make sure the image is sharp on the screen, and then get imaging. Once you've got the object on the screen, you can then choose to capture multiple images of the same object and create a single image with data collected over as many frames as you like, depending on how patient you are. This is known as live stacking, and SeeStar will collect and align the images for you. Think of the light that one image captures. Now combine the light from multiple images and you can see much more detail in your chosen object as you add those frames. More data equals more signal and less noise, more colour, more contrast in the final image. It's simple and easy using the SeeStar app, and the detail that a few minutes of collecting can pull out is quite amazing. So what makes SeeStar so special? Well, one of the biggest challenges in astrophotography is putting together a mount, telescope system and the camera together in a working environment. It's complex and has a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of cables to deal with and a lot of software to make it work. And the mechanics of mounting it all together and making them talk to each other can be quite complex. SeeStar makes that easy. It combines all these parts into one small unit. That means you don't have to mess with a lot of cables and components. You just extend the legs, turn it on, run the app and connect to the SeeStar, and you're away on a trip round the night sky in just a few minutes. So let's take a closer look at the SeeStar unit. It's constructed with a sturdy plastic case covering a solid chassis. The telescope side is mounted on a small arm in an alt-azimuth configuration. For beginners, that means the telescope moves up, down, left and right, like a camera tripod. The side arm here contains the optics and the camera, and the main body contains the mechanics and the brains of the SeeStar and its battery. The mount is part of the SeeStar body underneath here. It comes with a small tripod as standard, or you can mount it on a larger photography tripod using the standard 3/8 thread on the base. The battery for SeeStar is located under a cover in the base of the unit. It should last about 6 hours. And you can charge the SeeStar while using a phone charger or a USB battery pack when you're using it. That means you can extend the battery runtime even further. There's also a nice little battery indicator on the side here as well. This indicates on the main screen of the app too. Charging is easy. You just plug it into a phone charger or a USB power supply and that'll charge SeeStar. The telescope mounted in the sidearm is a high quality 50mm refractor for great light gathering potential and nice crisp images. The SeeStar even has a dew heater inside. This is a small heater that stops dew forming on the lens during those damp evenings out under the stars. To make life easy, SeeStars is really lightweight, weighing in at just 3 kilos, that's £6 in Tyler's money. It's easy to pick up and install on the tripod, and you can throw it in a backpack for a picnic under the stars. SeeStars comes complete with a small carbon fibre desktop tripod and a smart little carry case. It's very robust, and mine came back to New Zealand with me in its case in my luggage and survived the trip perfectly. It's a good size to throw in the boot of the car or in a backpack to take out on a night trip. So let's talk about the mobile app and SeeStar connectivity. SeeStar uses both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connectivity to your phone. Bluetooth is used to find and set up the telescope and then switches to Wi-Fi for data exchange using its own inbuilt Wi-Fi signal. Connecting is simple. Turn on the SeeStar unit, open the app, press connect, and the Bluetooth connection finds the telescope and then switches to Wi-Fi. The app is simple to use, no complex setup is required. You can choose a target from the list of best objects for that evening or browse the Sky Atlas and choose your own. You can also use the inbuilt joystick. Tonight's best objects list is based on SeeStar's assessment of your weather forecast, sky conditions, moon phase, and then offers you some suitable targets to view. It's pretty clever for a small app. The app is still under development, but the app is designed for newcomers with little or no astronomy experience. Newcomers can follow some simple instructions, set up SeeStar, and within a short time be viewing the night sky, capturing some great images that they can share with family and friends. So just a reminder before we dig into the technicals of the SeeStar, do hit that like button, and if you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to subscribe so that we can remind you when we post new material. Now, let's dig into the technical details around SeeStar. For the more knowledgeable imager, I thought I'd add a few more juicy technical details. So if you're new to the hobby, some of this may make no sense whatsoever. So just bear with me. At some point as you become more experienced, these terms will make much more sense to you, I promise. I'll also attempt to answer some of the many questions I've seen on the forums and social media pages. So let's see if we can close off some of the myths that are appearing. First off, let's quickly run over the hardware. As you can imagine, ZWO's experience in developing ASI Air, the AM series mounts, and its experience in building cameras has created a great platform for them to build SeeStars. Now, SeeStars isn't a telescope that you're going to use an electronic viewfinder or eyepiece on. It uses the mobile app to display the image on, and it's capable of live stacking short exposure frames into some pretty amazing images. SeeStar is based on the Sony IMX462 Starvis sensor with a resolution of 1936 by 1090. Now this is trimmed to 1920 by 1080 in the app. That's a size more suitable for social media. The IMX462 is one of the first generation of Starvis sensors, but it's still a very capable chip with great performance for lunar, planetary and deep sky imaging. It has a 2.9 micron pixel size, which is well matched to the short focal length of the SeeStar telescope optics, and has a great low read noise performance as well. Now the camera is not cooled. Doing so would have seriously bumped up the costs and also created some issues with battery life, for example. And it's also not necessary to do so. The alt azimuth mount limits the exposure time anyway, and ZWO is currently experimenting with different exposure lengths, but I've been testing very successfully with 10-second images. The same could be said of the why not a larger chip? Well, it really boils down to cost. Bigger sensors would cost more than the SeeStar alone, and that probably would not fit the target market. The aim seems to produce a low-cost yet capable electronic telescope designed for the newcomer to the hobby, and at a sharp price, and certainly SeeStar seems to fit that bill. There was some comment about longer exposures. Well, longer exposures become a problem in an alt-azimuth mount, and creating some kind of wedge or EQ mount adapter then becomes an additional level of complexity for a newcomer. The target market is for total newcomers and entry-level astronomers, and those wanting some simple, quick setup at a very compelling price. EQ mounts are not that simple to align or set up. I personally think that the short EAA-style imaging on an alt-azimuth mount like the SeeStar offers will become very popular for newcomers looking for a simple setup. The telescope field of view is approximately 1.3 by 0.75 degrees with a resolution of 2 arcseconds per pixel. The SeeStar 50mm telescope is designed around an f5 triplet apochromatic design with a focal length of 250mm. My tests so far show it to be quite a nice performer with a good flat field using the 462 sensor retaining good star shapes across the field using those 10-second image exposures in test. The telescope module is housed in a small moving arm that contains the optics, filter slider, focuser, dew heater and the camera module itself, and all that moves as an independent unit. The dew heater is actually a built-in dew strap. I did see someone asking if it was driven by a tech cooler, but no, it's actually a dew heater strap. ZWO is still experimenting with the exact parameters around operating temperature and humidity as well, so that's still being worked out. I know that was a question that came up as well. There is a small filter slider in the optics arm, and that currently contains a UV-IR filter and a dark filter, which is used for calibration frames. So when you hit Image Enhance on the app, it goes away and grabs a dark frame for calibration using the inbuilt filter first. Now, someone asked, why is this not a filter wheel with interchangeable filters? Well, I think one only needs to remember who this little unit is aimed at. Newcomers don't need the complexity of filter wheels or filter choice, only more advanced images have those thoughts. So I can fully understand the desire to make the filter wheel sealed inside the unit and without user changeable filters. Now, that's not to say that ZWO are not listening to feedback, and they have been thinking of ways in which other filters might be exchanged at sale, or buy some additional filter threads offered on the front body for a 2-inch filter, for example. I've done some initial tests with the 2-inch L Extreme filter and the initial results were quite encouraging. But there is some way to go on those tests, and likely it would suit wider bandwidth filters given the short exposure times and the desires to keep signal to noise ratios up. So right now this isn't a done deal, but I will bring more news as we get closer to release, but it's certainly being considered. That also goes for the option of white light solar imaging filters. TJ's already done some tests using a film style solar filter and got some good results too, but again, these are all being considered as options, but for now nothing is firm on that front just yet. The SeeStar is a typical alt-azimuth mount. The mount is driven from stepper motors and belts and is a standard ring and worm style drive. The battery can run the mount for about 6 hours, and that depends a little bit on temperatures and humidity. The battery is accessible under a small flap on the base, so it will be easy to change if needed to in the future. Remember I mentioned you can use the mount's USB-C connector to charge the SeeStar while in use as well, although you do need to watch out that the USB cable rotates around with the body and doesn't get caught up. I did have some ideas of velcroing my USB battery pack on the body, which I might play with at some point in the near future. While on the subject of the USB-C connector, one of the details that more advanced imagers might be keen to know about is that the USB-C connection allows you to access the onboard storage. So, just like ASI Air, you can connect your PC to the USB-C port and view the folders and download files from them. SeeStar has 64 GB of eMMC memory with 48 GB free for user storage. SeeStar will allow you to download saved data for post-processing, and it saves these images in FITS files for fixed images and AVI for video. It's also worth noting that the SeeStar has no SD card slot or USB card slot, so it's impossible to utilize other external storage for imaging. Now, there's been a lot of talk on the social media pages about the app. Let's just remind ourselves that the target market for SeeStars is not highly advanced images, but users like your kids, grandkids, your local social club, school groups, or an astronomy outreach team. Anyone just wanting a simple grab-and-go scope for some fun imaging. So the app is purposely very simple and easy to use and offers little in the way of customization or image editing for good reason. At least for now. More on that later. The app will be available for iOS mobile devices and Android mobile devices. A native Windows app is not planned, but M1 Macs and Windows 11 PCs that use the Android subsystem could use the app, but it's worth remembering that these are not supported modes and results can vary across these platforms. Anyway, the idea of SeeStars is to make it lightweight and portable so you can get out under the stars, grab your phone and wrap up warm in a chair. The front page of the app offers a choice of imaging mode, details of the current weather and sky conditions, moon phase, etc., and an assessment of what SeeStar thinks imaging conditions are like at this time. You can jump onto a list of the night's best objects, or onto the sky atlas from here. You can use the leveling tool for your tripod and drop into the AstroNet community pages to upload your images. Setup is really easy. Connect to SeeStar and then you can jump into the nice best objects or directly into the sky atlas. Choosing an object takes SeeStar to the sky from the park position. It'll point to the sky and take an image, plate solve and then align to the target. And for those doubters, yes, SeeStar does plate solve in the same way that ASI Air does. Now, currently the app is in English and Chinese, but ZWO are working on translations for French, Spanish and Japanese. And ZWO are also progressing all required local certifications for things like Wi-Fi, including the difficult Japanese market certifications. Someone was asking about field rotation, and that is controlled in software by the app. For the beginners, that means that the stars remain aligned across all of the images. Now, no equatorial mode exists, and in my opinion, I doubt there will be one given the target market and the previous discussion about complexity. There was also a question about mosaics. Again, that's quite a complex task and not really in the target market, so it would be down to the individual to try and create these, at least for now. So at the start, I don't expect advanced imagers to be accessing tools like mosaics and imaging plans, but ZWO have indicated they're looking at a pro mode which will allow more control over some of the settings in the future, and access to things like dark frames, input of user-entered target coordinates, etc. There is no ETA on this right now, but that would allow more experienced users to get deeper control of the SeeStar subsystem, but we have no idea of what that looks like right now or when it would arrive. Now, some users also asked about functions like satellite tracking and photographing space stations. These ideas are being looked at, and the hardware won't support upgrades as it's not designed to be user accessible. Software, on the other hand, can be changed and the unit supports firmware upgrades, so no doubt the app and firmware will be adapted as ZWO finds time to add additional fun features. But again, no ETA. There was also a question if SeeStar will have a station mode like the ASI Air, and the answer is yes, that is planned, but again no ETA, but it was a yes when I asked about it with the developers, which is good. If you're like me and an armchair astronomer, you leave the telescopes outside and then come into the warm. So what about the future? Well, some users are asking if there'll be more SeeStar models from ZWO in the future, including more advanced, larger apertures and bigger cameras. Well, SeeStar 50 is the first product under the SeeStar brand, and the word from HQ was, well, we'll continue to launch more fun and easy to use products in the future. Which certainly sounds like a very positive message to me, so you might see a more advanced SeeStar in the future, but again, no news on that. So who is the target audience for SeeStar? Well, I think you can pick up from the threads in this video that SeeStar is really aimed at the newcomer to astronomy. Someone looking for a low-cost entry into the hobby, someone who might not be that knowledgeable about how all these components fit together, but has a desire to buy something off the shelf to get them started. It's a good choice if you want something to give to the kids or the grandkids and have a fun evening out under the stars while they drive SeeStars around the sky. I think these scenarios will be great for SeeStars, as well as things like outreach using the multi-user mode. So, is it a telescope for the more advanced imager? Well, in my opinion, that depends. If you want something simple and fun to use while your main rig is running, then possibly. But I do think we need to be realistic here. It's not designed to replace that big rig on the tripod down the yard, so the image results will definitely not match, and for good reason. And nor can ZWO keep the price point and keep adding all these advanced features, similar to those found in the ASI Air. There will be a limit. SeeStar's hardware, for example, is not designed to be user upgradable as well. So, software can be enhanced, but the hardware will have its limitations. So I think if astronomers understand and recognise this, then you won't be disappointed in it. So now that all-important question I see getting asked every time, what about shipping? And what was the change announced this week? Well, from what I understand, the team is still targeting to ship in July. No exact ETA yet, and I would reiterate that start shipping. I think it's highly unlikely that this means every order that has been placed will be fulfilled instantly. So, depending on when you ordered, you might have a bit of a wait till all of the orders are dispatched. And I think the dealers are now adjusting their websites to reflect this. Personally, I want SeeStars to be a huge success. It's a fabulous product for the newcomer to astronomy, and one that I think will get a lot of kids out under the stars, which can't be a bad thing for the future of our hobby. For those newcomers to astronomy and new to the SeeStar, I'd like to send a warm welcome to one of the most fun hobbies out there. For those newcomers, I'm preparing a set of complimentary videos that covers SeeStar setup and operation and how to do some basic image capture and processing. So hit that subscribe button and we'll get you notified as soon as we publish them. And do look out for more from us here at Astroworkz, as we're very much into supporting newcomers and be your guide to the world of astronomy. TJ and I will continue posting as weather and time allow, so keep checking in and I'll set up the live Q&A soon, and you'll no doubt see some more videos from us soon. Until next time, I'm Simon, you've been watching Astroworkz, and we wish you clear skies from New Zealand.